You know, in India, getting a government job isn't just about having a career. For millions of people, it's pretty much the golden ticket to a stable, secure future. And the only way to get there is through these incredibly tough national exams. But what happens when that whole system just breaks?
Seriously, I want you to imagine this. You've spent years of your life studying. You've poured everything you have into preparing for one single test. And then on the big day, the system itself just collapses. For so many students in India, this isn't some bad dream. It's what actually happened. So this whole mess really kicks off during a major exam run by the Staff Selection Commission, or the SSC. It was their selection post Phase-13 exam. It was supposed to be this huge opportunity, but instead it turned into a complete and utter disaster.
And look, this wasn't a one-off thing, not just a single bad day. The chaos was relentless. The second the exam started on July 24th, reports of major problems started pouring in. Every single day, for a whole week, this cloud of chaos and controversy just hung over the entire process.
The number of things that went wrong here is just wild. We're talking widespread system crashes, biometric scanners that wouldn't recognize people, even something as basic as computer mice not working. But it gets even crazier. Some students reported that while they were trying to take this life-changing exam, there was literally DJ music playing in the background. It's a picture of total system failure.
And you have to remember, this isn't just about logistics. There's a real human cost here. A lot of these students were sent to exam centers hundreds of kilometers away from home. They spent money they didn't really have on travel, on a place to stay, only to show up and find out the test was canceled, sometimes with no warning at all. The financial hit, the emotional gut punch, it was just immense.
So, what happens when you have this much frustration? Well, it doesn't just vanish. It builds. And all that anger from thousands of students quickly spilled out of those chaotic exam centers and right onto the streets. It went from individual stories of despair to a powerful, unified movement. And out of that frustration, a single, powerful phrase became the rallying cry: Dilli Chalo. It means, let's go to Delhi. It was this clear call to action, telling students all over the country to take their fight directly to the capital, right to the government's doorstep.
And make no mistake, this wasn't just a random crowd. This was an organized movement. You had thousands of students, but they were joined by well-known educators like Neetu Singh, who's widely known as Neetu Mom. They picked symbolic protest sites in Delhi, like Jantar Mantar, and became the face of a generation that was demanding to be heard.
Now, as things got more intense, you started hearing two very different stories. The protesters said they were met with force, with reports of a lathi charge, that's a baton charge, and people being detained. On the other side, the police officials denied any widespread force was used. They said, yes, a few people were briefly detained, but that was it.
Okay, so this is where we get to the heart of the matter. On one side, you have the protesters with a very clear list of what they want. And on the other, you have the official response, which is basically defending the system while, admitting there were some problems.
And see, the protesters weren't just showing up to yell. They had a really clear four-point plan. First, they want an independent investigation into this whole mess. Second, a close look at the company hired to run the exams. Third, compensation for the students who lost time and money. And fourth, and this is the big one, real systemic changes to make sure this never, ever happens again. So what was the official story? Well, the SSC chairman, S. Gopalakrishnan, came out and defended their process. He chalked up all the problems to logistics, things like not having enough secure exam centers available. He insisted that no blacklisted companies were used and promised they'd be more transparent from now on. Okay, so let's just pull all this together for a second. In late July, you have these exams that are an absolute train wreck, with technical failures and cancellations. That leads to students and teachers like Neetu Singh protesting in Delhi. The official response is to blame logistics and promise to do better. But the protesters are standing firm with their demands. They want an investigation, a vendor review, compensation, and real reform. That's the conflict in a nutshell. Right, so you might be thinking, why does one exam gone wrong in India matter so much? Well, because this story isn't really just about one test. It's about a much bigger crisis of trust.
Trust in the entire system that's supposed to give people a fair shot.
And if you want to understand the sheer scale of what we're talking about, just look at this number. Opposition leader Rahul Gandhi claimed that when you add up all the paper leaks and exam problems in 2025, you get to 85 lakh students. That's 8.5 million people. Now, whether you agree with that exact number or not, it shows you this is a massive, widespread problem.
And of course, something this big inevitably becomes a political flashpoint. Opposition parties have jumped on this, accusing the government of letting down an entire generation of young people. So it's not just about an administrative failure anymore, it's a full-blown political fight.
So when you boil it all down, the biggest thing that was broken here wasn't the computers, it was faith. Faith in fairness, faith that the system works, faith that if you work hard, you'll get a fair chance. When that starts to crumble, it shakes the very foundation of the promise a country makes to its young people.
Which really just leaves us with one massive question, right? This whole scandal has exposed this deep, deep level of distrust. The protesters are demanding change, and the government is promising to be better. But when faith in a system this fundamental is broken so completely, what comes next? How do you even begin to rebuild that trust?